76ers is they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on
And welcome in. It's in-game live game day here on the grid on a fabulous Thursday evening. Scott Wetzel, Mark Zinno again for the next two glorious hours right up until 10 p.m. Eastern time. We got college basketball. Not a great slate as all these small, and I mean small conferences have their day in the sun this week, and the big boys start next week. But we got a couple of decent games. Got a full slate of NBA. We got the marquee matchup a little bit later on when the Knicks are in L.A. to take on the Lakers. Full slate of NHL, SGP, same game parlays. We got it all over the next two with my good buddy Mark Zinno. What's going on, Mark? How are you tonight?
Shame on you. Not a bunch of good teams tonight in college. This is the best part of championship.
No.
Yes.
How many small have you watched any of these teams play? I haven't.
It's not about that. It's not about, well, I have, but it's not even about that. There are more sort of, for lack of a better way to phrase it, holes in the marketplace where you could take advantage of with these small schools where the lines aren't as tight as they are at the big schools, and you have room to take advantage of it. I actually enjoy this week.
Do you? See, first of all, I got to be honest, not that I'm never not honest, but I'm not a big fan of these conference tournaments, no matter what conference it is. It could be the SEC or it could be the Ivy League. I'm just not a fan. From a gambling standpoint, anyway. From a fan, it's absolutely great. You know what? If you're not gambling and you have a dog in the fight, and I went to Southern Illinois, so I'm rooting the Salukis. They won today. It's great. But from a gambling standpoint, for me, Mark, but this is by far the toughest because you're taking everything you've learned and you're throwing it all out the window because, a typical Tuesday or Thursday, today's Thursday, right? A typical Thursday game in February or December, okay, you have all the stats and all the trends and all the variables all remain the same. Now you throw them in a win or else situation, and you're playing on neutral sites. You're playing in front of 1,000 people. No one's going to these games. It just throws everything you've learned right out the window. And to me, it makes these games so hard to handicap. It really does.
Again, kind of just depends on how you look at it and depends on what you look at as far as, again, what the teams are and who they are and how it all shakes out. I think that if you know smaller conferences, and I do this every year, I sort of just pick one or two smaller conferences to focus on. ones that I get a quick handle on earlier in the year, and I know the teams and the coaches pretty well, and I just sort of stay in that conference and look for the situations to manifest themselves. And yeah, it's conference tournament time, so things can be a little bit quirky, but for the most part here, I think you can take advantage of certain spots.
All right, so what's on your plate that you kind of like tonight in college basketball then?
Played against my alma mater, not 100%, but Bucknell taking on Loyola, Maryland. I went to Loyola, and I took Bucknell's team total over 72.5. Now, Bucknell got out to a huge 23-8 lead to start the game. The first half ended 39-36 in favor of Bucknell, who was laying. It opened up at 6.5. I think it got closer to 8 by the time they tipped this thing off. In fact, I'll check for you right now what it closed at as soon as I can find it right here. Yeah, it closed at -9. There was no way I was laying that big of a number. Bucknell is the best team in the Patriot League. They have a great offense. Loyola's defense leaves a lot to be desired. I know the school, and I know the team pretty well, and I felt like this was a spot here where Bucknell was going to be able to score. And I'm actually glad Loyola got back into it because they'll push the pace and push the scoring now. Loyola is one of the faster tempo teams in the Bucknell, so as long as they keep pushing Bucknell, Bucknell's offense should be able to get over here. So I need 43 points, I'm sorry, what do I need? 39, 33, or 34. There's my math finally. Dear Lord, Mark. 34 points in the second half. I don't want to clear over. So, yeah, I like where we're tied at 41 right now. Heck, I'll take overtime. Why not?
All right, so I'm assuming that if you liked it from the beginning, you like it even now. It's 74.5, a little adjusted, low. They only got 2 points in the second half, 3 minutes in.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it pick up. I don't want the pace to slow down, but the fact that Loyola's back in it is interesting. I also played a little money line parlay here today with UAB in the American, who was laying 5.5, and I teamed them up with Western Kentucky as well in a money line parlay. So both of those teams just need W's out of them, but Western Kentucky's up 12-2 to start the game in the first half against FIU, who's a really bad team. Florida National's terrible. So again, when I don't want to lay those bigger numbers, I'll find two teams that I think have a great chance to win, home teams, and play them at home and try to get a little money line parlay out of it, where instead of laying 7 or 8 in certain spots, I'll take both of them, get them down to about even money, which is what I got, and I'm in a good spot, I think.
All right. I do have the under in the St. Peter's game tonight. They are taking on Niagara. Now, I'm not going to be able to bet it because Niagara's a New York school, so I'm here in New York, so I can't do that. But I will say not a bad little it was 127.5. And right now it's 45-32, about 4 minutes in, 3.5 minutes into the second half. They had 65 points first half. So the decent pace. I need to slow it down just a tad. But, yeah, I mean, I do like some of these smaller conferences. And you're right. It's nice to pick like one or two. Like I follow the MAC for whatever reason because I'm here in New York and all these small schools, and I follow Missouri Valley.
Not the Mid-American.
Yeah. Not the MAC. Yeah, the MAC. Yeah. The double A. Yeah.
When I went to Loyola, they were part of the MAC, and the old MAC that used to be a very good mid-major conference. It's not anymore, but it used to be like 14th or 15th in the country, and every now and then would steal a couple at-large bids. But my biggest bet of the night is Cleveland State in the Horizon League. Cleveland State, and some of these smaller conferences play their first-round games or play the entire tournament on the higher seeds' home court. So Cleveland State is at home. I laid 4 with them. That game about to get tipped off here a little bit. This is one of the ones that are on the home floor, right? So they're at the Wolstein Center in Cleveland, and I like the Vikings tonight. As my buddy says, maybe the Vikings will set sail tonight. That's what I'm hoping for.
There you go. See, but this is one of those games that, this is actually a true home game. But I look at that point spread, Mark, and I see, Cleveland State's the best team in the Horizon, or one of them, right? 14-6, the 20-11 overall, good team. Northern Kentucky's not bad. They're not awful, 17-15, but only 11-9. I look at the conference marks since those are comparable schedules. And I say Cleveland State really should be favored by 6.5, not 4.5.
That's what I made the number. I made the number about 6 or 6.5, and I had some value at 4 when I bet it very early. So, let's see if it works out. It's one of those things where sometimes the numbers are wrong, but Northern Kentucky did beat them on their home floor, but they also had to shoot better than 50% in that game to do it. Northern Kentucky only shoots 29% from 3 on the road, and Cleveland State is a very good home team. So.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. So we got some action, and we got the big one. I say for tonight, big Michigan State and Iowa. Michigan State favor they can clinch the Big Ten regular season championship with the win tonight, which I think they will get. I did play a little snap on the over 152.5.
Very tough spot for Michigan State here. Like, they got
Right.
Michigan on deck again. They've already clinched a share of the Big Ten regular season title. It's like one of those things where it's just a lot of points to lay on the road. And as much of a wagon as Michigan State has been as of late, and I didn't want to step in front of them, I wouldn't have laid that 7.5 tonight with them.
Right. And that was exactly what I said. I think they're going to win. You can't bet them on the money line. So if they're going to win, I think I will put some points on the board at home. So I said, all right, let me grab the over. So I would think they would want to make that Michigan game meaningless. They lose tonight. Then if they lose to Michigan, then they continue to share. But if they win tonight, then they win outright no matter what happens against Michigan. So I think you're going to get a good effort.
Betting Iowa is their defense is so bad that it makes Michigan State's offense just a little bit better. And along with their defense, that's a bad combination to bet against.
Yeah, and it was 4 or 5 Iowa as well. All right, just underway in-game live game today.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in game live, game day here on the grid. Hour number one, Scott Wetzel, Mark Zinno, just underway. We got college basketball, we got some NBA, we got some hockey, we got the trade deadline in the NHL tomorrow afternoon. Joining us now to discuss it all, our good buddy, Mr. Jeff Dawson, EastCoastSportsInvestors.com. What's going on, Jeff? What's on the plate tonight? A little bit of everything, I imagine?
I'm not a huge NBA guy, but the last two games coming up look absolutely appetizing. It's conference week has started in the small schools. Some tough games. A long board, but real tough to navigate through, Scott.
How about the Lakers? Let's start there. I don't quite get, and the line's even lower now. I don't know. What am I missing here, Jeff? LA is 19-4.
I know what you're missing.
19-4. Their last 23, and they're basically pick 'em at home against the Knicks, who never beat anybody any good. And you want to put the Lakers in that category? Yeah, you have to at this point.
Whoa! The Knicks slander, I'm not here for at all. Okay.
Well, I mean, they can't beat anybody, Mark. Okay. All the good teams they get walloped.
There's a difference between not being able to beat Boston, Cleveland, and Oklahoma City, and the Lakers. The Lakers are not in that category. Okay, not even close to the level of Boston, Cleveland, and Oklahoma City.
The Lakers had the fourth best record in the NBA. Fifth best, my bad. Tie for the fourth best. And
the other reason,
in the loss.
Jeff, I got the Knicks this morning at +4. Right, the Lakers since acquiring Doncic haven't been more than a 2-point favorite. So, they haven't been a large, and this isn't a large number per se, but the Knicks are coming off a bad loss. The Lakers are coming off a big win. And, it felt like a spot where I could play New York, who is and I mean, it doesn't even matter about Robinson and OG Anunoby. It's about Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson being the better players on the floor right now.
I agree. This game, just the way that the Lakers, since they acquired Luka, I thought the number was short, but what you're saying is true. I mean, the only way I can bet this game tonight is the Knicks at +2.5. I think if their team total's right around 115, it opened at 229.5. It's now 231. I think the Knicks can get to 115. I'm real comfortable there as well. But I think the Knicks cover and they win this game outright, to be honest with you.
Wow. All right. We're going to be on opposite sides because I love the under and I love the Lakers. And Mark loves the Knicks apparently.
I like the Knicks.
Well, the game that just tipped off, Houston, New Orleans, that's another stench game right there. Overnight, Houston 5-3 at tip-off, some 3.5s there. Again, the same theory that I use for the Knicks, I'd be using for New Orleans here as well, plus the 3. I mean, I like Houston long-term. I think they might actually get a first-round win in the playoffs. They're a team in the future that's going to be a great team, just not this year. But I think that line smells as well. But we did lean the New Orleans plus the 3 at 3.5, depending upon where you were shopping.
All right, Jeff, let's get into a little bit of college here. What did you like tonight, and where are you going?
The big games, again, there weren't a lot of big games. The Grand Canyon, Utah Tech, 16, now 16.5. Had some success with Grand Canyon in the first halves. I think they were laying about 9 today, so we took Grand Canyon in the first half, minus the 9 there. And then you look at that UC San Diego team, and they've just been an absolute cash cow, playing Long Beach State, opened at 24, down to 22 at the Circa. But again, we took a look at the first half lane. I think it was around 11.5. Slow start first half for us. They did get it done there. But for the actual big games, those were the two on the main slate that we were looking at, Mark.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts that you stayed away from Michigan State, Iowa? Good start for Iowa. You could grab Michigan State right now. They were a solid 6.5 or so, 7-point favorite. Right now they are they were down 11. They were down like 4 or 5 points. So I'm sure it's pretty close to pick them right now. But you stayed away from that game, Jeff?
We've been fading Iowa, fading teams that are playing them. We've been taking their team totals over. You can score on Iowa. And this game here, I thought the 7, one of the last home games, if not the last home game for Iowa this year. Maybe they play a good first half. I thought that they had an opportunity to cover here. I did lean the +7 there. I expect Izzo's Army here to find a way to win this game, probably have a big second half. And on the same side there, probably get over that 81-82 team total number as well. But currently right now, I'm seeing 18-13 with about 11 and a half left. So again, the pace a little slow. Probably for Michigan State. Slow first 10 minutes, but they've been playing some great ball. They're going to be a tough out come tournament time.
Yeah, I wonder how. Yes, they're going to be a tough out. I've said repeatedly, I have concerns about their lack in ability of 3-point shooting, just because at some point in time, somebody else is going to make shots against them, and they may find themselves in a hole. And the only way to do that is either to shut the other team down defensively, which they can do, or they got to make threes to get out of it. And I just worry about the path and who they may run up against when you get to the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight, and what kind of team, what kind of matchup it is for the Spartans.
No, you're spot on there. It's been years since they've been able to have a team that can shoot the three well, and it's kind of surprising Izzo hasn't been able to find that guy or those guys. I think especially this year in this tournament, this team has really came together. They're playing great ball offensively and defensively. And I think that factor of Izzo in March might get them through the first weekend. And as you said, if they're up against a powerhouse that can shoot the three, an Alabama, a Florida or something like that, and they get down early, they're not a team that can come back from 10, 15, very easily, Mark, without shooting the three ball well.
Yeah. All right, talk a little basketball. Take a break, come back. We'll get back into the NBA, college basketball, maybe a little hockey stuff as well with Jeff, as we do have the NHL trade deadline tomorrow. So will some of the biggest names in hockey be on the move? We'll discuss it with Jeff. We'll come back to Game Live, Game Day.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Wow.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Mark talk with Jeff Thompson, EastCoastSportsInvestors.com. I'll just throw out there, Bucknell 52-44 over Loyola with 12 minutes left to go. High-scoring game.
Why do you want to irritate? We're going to spend the next 90 minutes together. Why are you trying to get me all hot and hot?
I should wait until the final 5 minutes of the program. So this will really irritate you. Let's talk some pucks. Trade deadline tomorrow, Jeff. Some big names. You know, we hear this all the time, but, you know, it might actually happen, whether it's Sidney Crosby. You were throwing out there Brad Marchand for the Bruins. What is it, 3 or 4 o'clock Eastern time, somewhere in there tomorrow afternoon. Who do you expect to be moved, and who should really need to make a trade? You know, whether it happens or not, I don't know. But what team, you know, that you think is cup worthy that really kind of needs someone?
Well, we talked locally here. The locals talked about there's a deal in place that was going to send Sidney Crosby to the Avs. Now it's all up to Sidney. If Sidney wants to leave Pittsburgh, the Avs have a deal in place for him to come to Colorado, and then I don't know what Pittsburgh's getting in return. With that deal, then Brad Marchand would leave the Bruins and also go to Colorado. Now, it's Friday at 3 o'clock, and just on speculation, and you just don't know, the Avs are 15-1 to win the Cup, 750 to win the West. So if that deal ever got done, those odds I think would shift real quick. So just took some pizza and beer money on that just in case by 3 o'clock that happens. But the locals are talking again tonight about Brad Marchand. Last year of his deal, 36 years old. He can go wherever he wants and chase a cup. And then from there, he's a free agent. So if he wanted to come back to Boston, so well be it. But for locally and the Bruins, they need to unload a few players. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going anywhere this year. So if you can get some draft picks, the Bruins definitely need to move and look ahead to 2026.
Jeff, to that end, you know, you always look at either goal scorers or goaltenders being traded at the deadline, right, to teams that are contending. Like take a team for Minnesota Wild, for example, 4th most points in the Western Conference. They can't score at all. They have a negative goal differential at this point in time. They need somebody who could put the puck in the back of the net. Like, I mean, when you look at teams that could go and try to acquire somebody, do you look at somebody like the Minnesota Wild, or where do you go?
Yeah, that's the $100,000 question mark. Is, you know, these teams, they have holes. As you talk about Minnesota, we need a scorer. They play great defense. They got good goaltender, but they don't have anyone that can score. And you know, you're flipping on some of these other teams. Go back last year, Mark, the Edmonton Oilers, who couldn't stop a nosebleed, but in the last 10 games of the regular season and the playoffs, that's all it takes is a hot goaltender. So I think there'll be a lot of phone calls around. If anyone wants to pick up Swayman, I know the Bruins would be happy to drive him to the airport. Anyone wants to pick up that $8 million. Just a bad year for him, but did have a great year last year. So goaltending is key, especially in the playoffs, Mark.
Should be a great playoff. I tell you what, the final 20 games, I looked at it today. I think there were like 7 teams within 4 points of the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. I mean, it's just going to be an absolute war, you know, over the next 3 weeks. So that should be a lot of fun. How about some of the games tonight? Well, we'll start with Boston. Down again. Not that I guess it matters at this point, but 2-1 Carolina over the Bruins midway through the second period. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, we had the Bruins, the Hurricanes team total over the 3.5. We laid some juice there. They're giving up goals. They waved the white flag after the tournament. They even Marchand said it in an interview. It's, you know, if we're getting ready for next year, we'll do what we got to do. So I expect the Hurricanes to take care of business and get to 4 there. The 2 games coming up, Montreal, Edmonton. Montreal, one of those teams, like Mark said, they can score with the best of them, but defensively they're not good. We have the over 6.5 in that game there. You can't play the Edmonton team total. They have it at 4.5 under -160. So if you wanted some froggy pizza and beer money and think Edmonton can get to 5 today, you can get them at +140. Then San Jose, Colorado, same thing, minus 420. I mean, Colorado minus a half goal in the first period, laying a little juice there. Other than that, regulation or minus a goal and a half. That's the only way you can get in there.
Yeah, even a Colorado Edmonton parlay is still minus 128. Amazing. Yeah, great job as always, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, guys.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Mark Zinno, hour number one of our 2-hour extravaganza. A little late because Jeff was gracious enough to spend an extra 5 minutes with us, which was cool. So a little SGP time now on the grid. All right, you know what? This game's got sucker written all over it. I know it does. They're begging to take the New York Knicks. They just are. Actually, no, they're begging to take the Lakers. They just are. And you know what? Every once in a while, the boys in Vegas, exactly. Every once in a while, the boys in Vegas give you a gift, Mark. So I am going to take it. I love the Lakers laying 3 at home against New York. I don't. Why? You're right. When we were talking earlier about the Lakers, they haven't been favorites. They're really the greatest anomaly you'll ever get. They're a public team. One, they have 2 of the most public players in LeBron and Luka, whether you like them or not. They are Buffalo screwed again. They are public players, right? And so you think everyone's betting them, and yet their lines have not been, crazy. They really haven't. They're 19-4. Like I said, their last 23 games. This started really before Luka got there. So you want to give me the Lakers? They've won 7 straight overall. Give me the Lakers, basically pick them laying 3 against New York. I'm going to go under, both teams on strong under runs. It makes no sense. Luka couldn't spell defense, let alone play it. But you know what? Since they've acquired him, they only had 1 game go over. So let's go under. Knicks on a nice 6-1 under run as well. And they're only went over because it was they had a game against Miami that went to overtime. Otherwise, that would have went under as well. So under 230.5, that's a monster number. And then those are basically the plays. Now we're going to just enhance it a little bit to bump our payout higher. Luka, 6 rebounds. He averages close to 10. Minus 590. He's going to get 6. Luka, 3 threes. He's been on fire the last couple of games. He's really turned it on with his 3-pointers. He'll get that. That's minus 330. LeBron, 6 rebounds, minus 530. Same thing. He averages around 7, 8 or so. He'll get that easily. And then one Nick, Jalen Brunson, 20-plus points, minus 5-1. You can't bet these, but they've really the boys in Vegas, they're shrewd. They realize people aren't betting these things. They're putting them all in these SGPs, and they're bumping them up. But Brunson should get 20 points in this game. Add it all up, and you got a 7.5-1 parlay, 746 when I put it in this afternoon.
Other than the Lakers not winning the game, it looks really good.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, that's the best thing about it. If you can get some of these others to come through, and it's a relatively low-scoring game, then you can hedge. And if the Lakers are losing or winning, or it's pick 'em, close to it, you can definitely hedge it at 7.5-1 on one side. You get the Lakers and Knicks to be tied, we'll just say. Lakers will still be, a couple-point favorites. And then you bet the Knicks and you offshoot the parlay. Because these other things, the 20 points with Brunson probably, it'll take a little while for him to get that. But if he's got like 15 or 16, he's going to get 4 or 5 more. So
there's a reason why you're opposite picks. Like when I see a team on a 7-1 under run and another team, 6 of their last 8 have gone under, I'm like running away from the under. I'm like looking the exact opposite direction because, things just tend to level out. Because things tend to level out in sports betting. The opposite, as tends to happen sometimes more often than not. And so it's just a spot where, with trends like that, I don't necessarily always like to play into them. And also you have to take a look at who do they play during those runs? Like, the trend is nice and it briefs well, but you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper sometimes to figure out what's the reason why they're on this run where they are. Because again, for the most part, yes, you have teams that finish over in 60+%, teams that finish under in 60+%, but a large portion of the team, Scott, as sort of sit closer to 50% throughout the entire season. So there's a reason that regression always seems to happen. It's just kind of the way my mentality works when I approach sports betting.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, most teams win everything we don't, and that's how Vegas wants it, right? They don't want a team to be, 20 games better against the spread, or 20 games worse, either way, or 20 games over or 20 games under. That they want it to even itself out. And when everything is said and done, when you look at the end of the year, it really does. Outside a few games, obviously, but it's rare when you have one team that's way higher or way lower. So. But I just, for whatever reason, they're not, getting into these goofy shootouts. And I'll take and plus 230 anyway is a big number anyway. That's still 120, 108 going under. So it's not like it's a 210 or a 215. But we'll see. We will see. A couple scores here. Golden State was down 15, 16 maybe to Brooklyn.
They were down like 25-5 in the first quarter.
That much? Okay, there you go. It's a 6-point game now, 58-52.
I mean, I like Brooklyn tonight because of the win that Golden State was coming off of against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. Felt like a big-time letdown spot for them. So I was looking in the other direction personally, but that's
that made sense. And they had an off night in New York. This is not an off night in Milwaukee or Cleveland, no offense, or Indiana. It's an off night in New York. If you think these guys sat in their hotel rooms all day today and all day last night, just playing cards.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
So, how about the Celtics? Who knew? Listen, last night was just ridiculous. Let me see what Pritchard and White are doing tonight because they're leading again. Although Philadelphia is just atrocious, right? But they're leading by 18, 64-46. I know some people thought, okay, this might be a good little hunch bet on Philadelphia. And we all have hunch bets, right? But doesn't look like it's happening. Although I would have played under Pritchard and White team totals or, scoring totals today if they offered them.
By the way, I'm officially blaming you for Bucknell not going over 72.5. I just want you to know that.
Well, they're at 57, right? And they're leading.
59 with 7 minutes left. I need 14 points in 7 minutes.
You should get 14 points in 7 minutes.
I should. Yes, I
you're up 4-5.
I absolutely should.
I mean, if I told you that when you put your bet in, and I told you you would need 14 points or 14 points in 7.5 minutes, almost 8 minutes, would you take that?
Yes, against Loyola's defense, I would have taken that, but I just don't like the pace and the way the second half is unfolding. Like in a vacuum,
that is true.
If you're asking Bucknell to score 14 points in 7 minutes against a very below-average Loyola defense, sure, I would make that bet. But and again, they were up big early, and I think they only scored 13 points over the last 10 minutes of the first half, and it sort of slowed things down for them. And the pace of the second half has been very slow overall. Only 39 combined points here in, what have we gotten, 13 and a half minutes. So from both teams, it has died.
That's weird. Like, what happens at halftime? Do they decide, okay, I mean, both teams fairly successful. Yeah, I guess, man. That is wacky. But 59-55, 6.5 left now. The good thing is you're up. If you get it to like 6, then you could maybe count on a few of those fouls and free throws, get yourself an extra 3, 4, 5 points.
If I'm at like 70 with under a minute left, I'll be, that's really what it is. Like now you just got to start thinking 11 points in the next 5 minutes, and we should be okay as long as Loyola continues to score. Yeah.
Let me see. By the way, 33-24 Iowa over Michigan State. You want to bet Michigan State? If you thought they were going to win, you didn't want to lay the 7. Now you can definitely do it. So, what is your team shooting there? Let me try to find the box score.
For which
Bucknell.
I mean, listen.
Do they shoot any threes at all?
If you would have told me that Bucknell was going to shoot 53% through 2/3 of this game from the field and 46% from 3, I would have been like, okay, this is a lock. But Loyola is also shooting 46% from the field and 56% from 3. And Bucknell's missed 4 free throws, which doesn't help. Loyola is 4 of 11 from the free throw line. I mean, imagine if they just had made 4 points. I don't know.
What are they crawling the ball up? Right? I mean, if I told you with 6 minutes left, some team is hitting 54% and 46 from 3, and the other team is hitting 47% and 56% from 3, wouldn't you think it would be more than
right now? Yeah.
Yeah, right? Wow. Crazy. All right, in-game live game day continues here on the grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott Mark Zinno until 10 p.m. Eastern time. So we got a timeout on the court. We're watching this Patriot League action, a little college basketball. I got to find it on my my TV, which is every channel in the world, but I'm not finding this one for some reason or another. But 61-59. Bucknell's been sitting on 59 points mark here for the last 3 minutes or so. It's time is now it was looking good before, and then now I must say now you have to sweat because now you don't even have the lead. Now you're actually trailing. So all those free points that we're kind of hoping on,
no one's going to be fouling. They're just going to be playing defense and hoping for turnover. I mean, overtime is my only out. Overtime is I'd love for Loyola to win this game. As an alum, it would be great if they knocked off the number 1 seed. That'd be awesome. Or the number 2 seed. I forget. I think Bucknell was the number 1 seed. Regardless, if they were able to do it, it'd be great. But I just I can't believe how much Bucknell has only scored 20 points, and even worse, they have scored. Let me just do this here. Since the 6:13 mark of the first half, they have scored 28 points. So they've basically gone 20 minutes and scored 28 points. They were blowing this team out. Crazy. It was 23-8 with 11 minutes left. They're losing.
And again, you're talking about a team that was in first place. The number 2 seed, they lost a tiebreaker with American, but both teams were 13-5. 13-5, and Loyola, your club, is 6-12, and they can't forget about winning. They can't even score, let alone win the freaking game. That's just nuts. And they've been with Bucknell 6 in a row.
Watch Bucknell win this 72-71.
Yeah. Oof. Tell you, from a betting standpoint, you can get Loyola, you can get Bucknell, which just tied it, and they are the better team at 61. They just bumped it to -160. When they were down 2, it was pick 'em, but you could still lay 1.5 points at -132. Best team in the conference. One of the 2 top teams. That's actually not a bad bet. That really isn't. You got to believe they're going to pull this thing out. Now, whether they get to 74 points or not, I don't know at this rate. But as far as winning the game,
I need 12 points in 4 minutes. I don't think it's happening. Again, Bucknell could go on a mini run here and go up by like 5 or 6, and that puts us back in the situation where I would need it to. But you're going to see long possessions here because no one's going to try to force a bad shot, and that's kind of what happens.
Everyone get a 3
time to make the best shot possible.
Yeah. You get 1 3, you get it to 64, then you get another possession, and you bump it to a two possession game. And they just missed a 3 too from the play-by-play with 4 minutes left. TV timeout. All right, tied at 61. Listen, we got the overtime the other day with one of our game, the BYU game, which ended up going over thanks to overtime. So it is possible. Tied at 61 with 4 minutes left. So
by the way, American has a 3-point lead over Lafayette. So far, 44 points in the second half. They scored 23 in the first half. They got a 3-point lead with $1:18 left over Lafayette. So it would be a big comeback for American, who trailed by 11 at half.
So this must be one of the tournaments that have home field, at least for the first round. Right?
All the way through.
All the way through. All right, for Patriot. All right. So the top 2 seeds in the Patriot League are both struggling.
Yeah.
What do you get?
And that's why all the smart kids in the Patriot League, the bean counters, we don't have to pay for a conference tournament. Just put it on their home floor. We'll save money.
Sure.
Smart kids.
Save money. Yeah. Sell out crowds versus having 1,000 people. Basically that's what they get for these things, right? Nobody goes to these rounds. You can't because most of them are in the middle of the afternoon. They may announce 14,000 because it's tickets sold because you're buying 1 ticket for all the games.
That's the problem. Between when they do it, they co-host men's and women's tournaments in the same spot, and so they have all the games to get through. So they got to play a bunch of them during the day.
Yeah, in front of nobody. Doesn't make any sense to me. But all right, so I did like Middle Tennessee State today at home. It was basically pick 'em, laying a 1.5 or so. Ooh, Tampa Bay tied up Buffalo. How about that 5-5? What a crazy game that is. And they're down 5 against Liberty. Two good teams, but I thought I always like grabbing the home team when it's close to pick 'em. And lo and behold, they are down 5 second half. So if you want to grab a little money line stuff right now, you can get where'd the game go? Middle Tennessee plus 164 with 15 minutes left to go. Good game there. My UTEP Miners lead Sam Houston State. They should have won this game. They're winning 55-49. 15 minutes left. Nothing crazy there. Don't necessarily like that. Halftime, Iowa leads Michigan State 37-30. Well, I tell you what, you get Michigan State now at pick 'em. I can't believe Michigan State's going to lose this game.
I mean, Michigan State at a pick 'em doesn't feel like a bad play at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a middle thing. You got Michigan up next, but Iowa stinks. I mean, they lost 4 or 5.
So,
all their players are hurt. I mean,
but here is the game script that I've talked about for Michigan State and St. John's that begins to be a little bit of a problem, right? I mean, Michigan's only shooting 40%, 25% from 3. They're going up against an Iowa team that's hitting over 48% of their shots so far. Imagine if they were any better than 3 of 10 from 3. This would be a 10 or 12-point game. And that's a real problem, when it comes to Michigan State getting back in it. Because if a team just has a really good shooting night and their depth and their shooters are hitting, it's hard to overcome when you can't make threes.
Really, it's weird. Listen, you could be mediocre, you could be halfway decent, but not great, from three-point land. But there's 364 teams in Division I college basketball. That's a lot of bad teams, right? 364. They are from the bottom. Where are they? They're about 340 or so. There's only like about 25 teams that are worse than them out of over 350 teams. And St. John's is right next to them as well. So amazing. In-game live, Black Cloud coming up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. In-game live game day here on the grid. Final segment, hour number 1. Scott and Mark for another full hour, so don't go anywhere. But not done with this hour as we have our Black Cloud play of the day. Yes, I got to say, we're on fire with this. We're 3-0 so far this week. We went 4-1 last week, so I forget what we did the preceding Friday. So we're at least 7-1 our last 8. Had a little bit of luck with one of these, with one of the games going to overtime, but let's keep it rolling tonight. We're going to go to the NBA since the college basketball slate isn't great, and we're going to use that Lakers game. I don't like doubling down on the SGP and the Black Cloud, but I'm going to make the exception with this one because it was kind of a split thing here and which one I liked more, whether it was the Lakers or the under. So let's use the Black Cloud on the under. I really do like that. Maybe the Lakers don't win. It's got sucker written all over it, right? But I do think it's going to be an under. For whatever reason, the Lakers, since they acquired Luka, they played better defense. It just bottom line is they have and Luka's missed a whole bunch of shots. But 7-1 under are the Lakers last 8 games. We got the Knicks 5-2 under. I said 6-1 earlier. 5-2 under. One of those was a game that went to overtime. That's the only reason the game went over. So realistically, 6-1 under. 130 points is a lot, or 230 points is a lot of points. No matter who wins, I don't think it's hitting 231. Let's go under 230.5. Our Black Cloud play of the day, Mark.
Yeah. Again, I don't necessarily disagree. I think if the Knicks are going to have a chance to win this thing, they're going to have to do it with a low-scoring game. So they're going to have to find a way to contain. This isn't a very good Knicks defense. So I kind of agree. As somebody who sides with the Knicks, I think it would stay under.
Yeah. So, all right. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that when they tip off in a little while. By the way, I did look it up. And here you see some of the trends there. Michigan State is ranked 349th out of 364 teams. They're in a group as far as 3-point shooting. They're in a group of Quinnipiac Bobcats, Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks, Coppin State, Lindenwood Lions, godforsaken Mississippi Valley State, Cal State Fullerton. That's the group that we're talking about as far as maybe making the Final Four, believe it or not. That's how bad they are when it comes to 3-point shooting. Amazing that they can be so good and yet be so bad. And St. John's is right ahead of it, 345. Yeah.
So 67-65 Bucknell. They just called a timeout with a $1:20 left. Bucknell is the ball. I mean, all I can hope
defense, right? They're not going to foul.
Well, Loyola's not going to foul, no. But I mean,
right?
Bucknell making a basket here doesn't hurt me. But again,
doesn't really help.
Just a question
either. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
you really want to be up 4?
I'd almost like a 3 here.
Yeah.
More than anything, and Loyola to come back down and miss a 3 and then foul. That would get me theoretically to 72, and they may foul one more time just out of GP. That's kind of the way this thing goes. But yeah,
3 would really be nice. Get it to 70. What your number's? What 73.5 or 72.5? I know I've asked you before, but
Bucknell just called another timeout.
So 73.5 is your number, right? So you need 7 points.
No, 72.5.
72, okay.
Okay, Bucknell didn't call a timeout. Loyola just called a timeout. Bucknell missed. So now I can hope for 67-67 in OT. That's really what would be the best case scenario.
Right.
That's what I want, yes.
Yeah. You need a bucket here. The last thing you want is a 3. That would be the worst thing in the world. Even a miss. You play the foul game and you just hope. But a 3, giving Loyola the 1-point lead, and you get it off that overtime 2 number, that would, 54 seconds left.
I'd like Loyola to make a bucket here. That's really what I would like.
And also, I tell you what you don't want is Loyola to shoot with about 40 seconds left and miss. This way they play defense. and they don't foul.
Right.
Although even that might not be the worst thing, just because then you'd be down 2 theoretically if Bucknell doesn't hit a shot. But if Bucknell hit a shot, then you would be doomed. So, but all right, we'll say 54 seconds left. You got a shot. More coming up, hour number 2.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome in. It's in-game live game day here on the grid. Hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Sky Wetzel, Mark Zinno, watching some college basketball, little NBA, little hockey, some craziness going on in Tampa Bay where the Red Hot Lightning 5-5 with Buffalo. Keep you posted on that. No Ovechkin tonight. Washington not playing. So kind of isolating a little bit, having some fun with this Bucknell game as Mark is sitting on the over 72.5. He's got 67-67. We're in a timeout, are we not, Mark? With 36 seconds left, Bucknell ball.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, what I don't want is a 3. I would love back-to-back misses here. Bucknell's going to hold on to this for a long possession here, which would be great. And again, Loyola has no timeouts, so neither team has a timeout, and let's just hope we get some misses here.
Ooh, you got to miss. You gotta miss the Bucknell miss. You're going to overtime. Oh,
wow!
How about that?
Yes, we get so lucky. Oh God, I need 6 points from Bucknell.
Now you still need to sweat it out, because this team scored. God. How long did it take them to score their last 6 points?
They're going to score 6 points in 5 minutes in overtime.
You would think, but I'm telling you. I've seen games where teams don't. I definitely have.
Overtime is where dogs are going to die. Now, I don't think Bucknell's covering 9 points, which is what this closed at. So if you're holding a ticket Loyola +9, you're in great shape. But listen, we've seen crazier things happen. That said, Loyola going into overtime here does not bode well for them.
Yeah, I will tell you this. Bucknell with 4 minutes and 49 seconds left in regulation had 61 points. So it took them 4:49 to get their last 6 points, which that's less than 5 minutes. So if you stay at that pace, and that was a pretty awful pace. So
all I needed was a 33-point second half. That's not a high-scoring half.
Right.
They couldn't do it.
39 in the first half.
Bottom 2 defenses in the league, they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
My God.
Amazing. That's amazing. Wow. That's why it's tough to bet unders in these games. You always, always, always have a shot with the over. It never, with overtime. It may take 2 overtimes or 3, but there's always that possibility. With the under, once it goes over, that's it. Doesn't matter. You're dead. So 67. Whew, and you actually got a bucket, right? It was 67-65, and you needed pathetic Loyola to score and not a 3. And they
I don't
need
the pathetic in there.
But that's true. That's true. So you need a Loyola to actually score a bucket, and they did with 36
I will
seconds
take
left.
74-73. The Greyhounds win. That's what we want.
All right. Will you take 74-73 Loyola? Or excuse me, will you take 73-72 Loyola wins?
No.
No. Okay. All right. I just want to know where your heart was versus your money.
Emotional, happy, but I'll be ticked off. Look, if they only score 5 points in this overtime period, I'm leaving the rest of the show. Okay. I literally would tender my resignation at this point in time. I'm lucky enough to be in overtime, but this is ridiculous. If they can't score 6 points in overtime in 5 minutes, Bucknell, should fold. They should leave college basketball altogether.
I mean, theoretically, that's 2 possessions, right? I mean, it's 2 buckets, 2 3-pointers.
Just call it 3. Do it the hard way. They should have 3 possessions where they find a bucket.
Yeah. Somewhere, somehow, whether it's free throws, whether it's technical fouls, turnovers for lazy layups.
Right? So everybody's getting 2 free throws.
That carries over. Oh, yeah, you're good then. You're listen, I don't want to kiss the death.
You did that before, and that's why I'm here right now. Okay?
I know.
Stop saying things are good when they're not good.
You got the ball. I will tell you that. Defense
I'm watching. I have it on here. Yeah.
All right.
I have it on here, so I'm watching.
I can find it. It's on one of the 4-letter networks here. But all right, one of the ESPN pluses, I think.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, I grabbed Michigan State. All right. I grabbed Michigan State. I took them down at the half. They just started the second half. They're down 10 now, 40-30. I got them at Pick'em. I got to see them lose. It could happen. You know what? To me, that team can't lose enough. I hate Tom Izzo and I hate Michigan State. So if they lose every single game, it costs me money. Then so be it. So, but they're not getting 2.5.
You want to know what I hate? Kids who can't make free throws. Kids who can't make free. That's what I really hate. More than anything.
Yeah.
I
Knowing
don't
that third graders can make a free throw. Literally, third, fourth graders. I've seen it, refereeing, make free throws, and yet these kids in college and in the NBA can't. That is a little frustrating.
Because third graders don't buckle under the pressure. Oh, look, he missed the free throw. He missed the second one. What a dummy. My God. But they got the rebound.
Yeah. All right.
So.
You got at least 1? You're down to 5?
Yeah, they got 1, down to 5, and they got the ball back here.
I used to make a scoreboard whenever I had an over or under and I needed points, and I would go 1 through 20, and on my little sheet I would just cross up 19. I'm down to 18. I'm down to 17. Now it's just like whatever. But
they missed again. Got another offensive rebound. All of a sudden, Bucknell can't shoot. They're one of the best shooting teams in the conference. Let me just look this up real quick for kicks and giggles.
They have to. They're in first place, right?
They just made a bucket. Now it's 70. I need 3 more.
All right.
I mean, nice. I would love a Loyola 3 here. Would be glorious. Let's do that.
Yes.
Tie it up.
Because that'll force someone to score. 3:48.
Oh,
if it got that one, they tied it up. All right.
70-70, baby. Let's go Greyhounds.
If it got under 2 minutes and you still needed points, that's when I would start to worry. So you got a minute 48 of you're playing with house money for a minute 48. If it gets, like I said, because there's 3:48 left. If it gets under 2 and you still need 3, or 2, then it's like, okay, worry time. But we had a minute 48.
I mean, Bucknell was the number 1 effective field goal percentage shooting team in the conference this year. They were number 1 in three-point shooting in the conference this year. I mean, just ridiculous. And again, Loyola's defense was the worst in effective field goal percentage defense and 9th out of 10 teams in three-point percentage defense. And Bucknell can't get over 72.5 here. I need 3 points in 3 minutes, and we're tied at 70. This is agony at this point. This is absolute agony.
Couple of NBA here quickly because we're going to get Colby Dan on here when we're going to do some more college basketball with him. But Magic lead the Bulls. Nobody really cares. 102-98. Celtics by 14. 76ers making a little bit of a run. 82-68. They were down 20 or so before. Golden State and Brooklyn Nets 76-75 over the Warriors, who are now 5.5-point favorites. So Warriors have come all the way back on that one. And then Houston trails the Pelicans 59-56, over under 233.5. I've been playing over in New Orleans games, and they've been hitting pretty regularly. What happened?
There's under 2 minutes left, and they still don't have any points.
Still at 70. God. Oh my goodness! Now the sweating starts. Now it's
this game is setting basketball back 50 years.
This is like George Mikan. I mean, it's like, what are they doing?
My God.
You got a free throw. You do have a free throw. You're at 71. We get 2 more. Colby Dan comes up next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away with the Vegas guys. Tampa Bay goal. All right, so you know what? It evened up because I got Tampa Bay in regulation. So Bucknell gets the job done in overtime. They score 7 points. There's 40 seconds left. They actually lead now Loyola 74-70. So Mark's over 72 and a half.
Now I want Loyola to win. Now I hope Loyola comes back and wins.
Wow, yeah. So my under St. Peter's, though, tied at 59 because Niagara misses a free throw with 2 seconds left. So that game goes to overtime, and my under died because that went over thanks to overtime. So that's the fickle fate of college basketball. Welcoming in our good buddy Colby Dent to this college experience podcast is his home on the College Gambling Sports Network here. Colb, watching some of this craziness here, whether it's Bucknell, Loyola, whether it's St. Peter's, by the way, Michigan State and Iowa. What's on your plate tonight, Colb?
Yeah, I'm all over. I was all over the Hawkeyes there on senior night in Fran McCaffrey's final game, I believe. But I will say, I think I'm having a pretty good day, but I got burned on the WCC Pacific San Diego game with about 3 people there in Vegas. Yeah. So it's a great time of year though, when you're sweating out a day game in Las Vegas there. Just, you look and there's more people in my household than there is at that stadium. So yeah, fun times though.
By the way, dating back to last night, thank God I didn't have to fly to Los Angeles and stuff Eric Musselman in a locker. So good for USC to actually show up and play a game. That was much needed for me. But nonetheless, look, I know you're on Iowa, but there's a chance for a middle here with Michigan State trailing by 10. Would you look at Michigan State to get back in this thing?
Yeah, I actually think that would probably make the most sense here. Their team has been battle tested. They've been in this spot before. Michigan State's team's got a certain amount of grit to them this year that I haven't seen in a while. So I do think there's probably a value play on that. But I loved coming into it, just the fact that I had gotten word, and I got to be honest, I didn't catch the beginning of the game, but the very beginning of the game. But I had gotten word from someone that I respect over there at Iowa that they were this is his final game, Fran McCaffrey. So that and senior night, and also just historically, McCaffrey and Iowa have been a problem for Michigan State. I think it's the way they spread the ball out and spread it around. McCaffrey's teams, even this year's a bad version of their teams, but they're very offensive. They do a great job on offense, kind of getting the ball, all 5 people involved. That was my logic on that, was just like Michigan State's got Michigan on deck, huge rivalry game. Can they complete the sweep? I know that if they won this, they would win the Big Ten, but I just thought it was a good spot for Iowa. But right now in game, yeah, you're getting a big number on a Michigan State team that's shown grit. They've been in this spot a couple times all year and battled back in one game. So yeah.
Well, coach is fired system before the coach is fired. I like that. Definitely like that. You were on with us last night. We hit with Lindenwood. They're back on the court tonight at Tennessee State, getting 3.5 now. Are we following Lindenwood all the way to the championship game here?
I'm terrified of this one because I took a Tennessee State future, but I think Lindenwood's the right side, guys. The line is even reflecting. It went from 4.5 or 5 down to 3.5. Lindenwood's playing with house money. I love these teams where you're not allowed to make the NCAA tournament. So, you know what I mean? Those teams that just aren't allowed to, what do you have to lose? There's no pressure. It's just go out and play ball. And to me, you get to play loose because of that. It's one of the reasons why we like Queens the other day against Florida Gulf Coast, was that Gulf Coast had lost to them 2 straight years, but Queens is still playing with house money because who cares? I think Lindenwood in the points is the play. They've played a lot better down the stretch. Tennessee State is one that, I know I sound kind of like a moron here telling you, well, I have a Tennessee State future. I thought they were the most athletic team in this conference. So I thought, man, let me take a future on them. But watching the way Lindenwood won the other night, guys, last night, going 1 for 15 from 3. So it's wow, they were able to battle back. They were down double digits. They battled back, going 1 for 15 from 3 and won that game. So I think they have no pressure. I like the Lions. I believe they are plus 150 on the money line. And unfortunately, I think they're going to burn my future to the ground.
Do you get into the Horizon League much?
I love the Horizon League. I'm a bit. I am sweating at IPFW. It doesn't look like it's going to hit, but I took IPFW against Youngstown right now. Youngstown's up 3. I'll tell you this. I normally love dogs in the Horizon League tournament, even with them being on campus for the first round or two. I'm not looking the greatest there. I also took Wright State, which I believe is down like 8 or 9 points, I think, right now. So in a bit of trouble there, but
I played Cleveland State -4. I made that number 6.
I actually took Northern Kentucky in that one, but my logic is I just love the dogs. I just love the dogs in the Horizon League. This tournament went chalk last year, and that was like the first time it went chalk in like 15 years, I feel like. So to me, it was like, oh God, here we go. Cleveland State's been a good team all year, so I would understand it if they did.
Their 3-point shooting tonight is god awful. I mean, this is crazy. They held Northern Kentucky to 5 points through the first 10 minutes.
And I can tell you, to me, one of the angles that I liked about Northern Kentucky is they ended the season kind of hot, putting the guard Pettis in the lineup. He was on the bench. They switched their rotation, and they've been pretty good down the stretch, like the final 8 to 10 games. That was my logic, was like I think they found something there. But I think it could go anyway.
How about Milwaukee? I know you said you like the dogs. There were favorites coming in. One of the better teams in the conference are down 10 at home, getting out 7.5.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one favorite I went with. So it's not looking good. So I thought Bart Lundy in Milwaukee, the Horizon League, you need to take a drink before these games.
Talk with Colby Dan. More coming up right here on the Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Mark talking college basketball with our good buddy Colby Danta. Check out his podcast, the College Experience podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. So let's run down some more games here. My question for you, Colby, is can Cal State Fullerton score 57 points tonight at Cal Poly? Or check that, the next game. Can Long Beach State score 57 points against UC San Diego? Because if so, we bet Long Beach State plus 22.5 and the over 136.5. As long as LB scores their 57, the game will have to go over if they don't cover the spread. So that's the 57-point mark.
Yeah, and you took the over?
Well, I'm contemplating it. Yes, I'm Long Beach State and then the over. Thinking it's 2 free bets. They got to score 55, 56 points, right?
I mean, they scored 54 in their first matchup, and they've lost 13 straight. Here's the thing. UC San Diego is the number 1 rated defense in the country. I don't know if you guys been watching UC San Diego. To me, they are a team. I mean, they have been blowing out teams, and I think on purpose. They're like, coming into these like final 10 games, they have kept the starters in late, trying to run up their analytics, which makes a lot of sense because it's working. It's working. They've jumped a bunch of spots analytically. To me, I wouldn't touch that. I wouldn't touch that just because I know that because they're trying to get the outright bid. If Riverside or Northridge or whatever gets them Irvine in the Big West tournament, they're trying to manipulate the numbers, which I actually think is way ahead of the curve. More teams should do this. I know it's probably bad sportsmanship, but with the way we rely on metrics to get into the NCAA tournament, why not?
Fair point.
So I'm not going to touch this thing. I actually think if the best thing I could do on the board is probably lay the points, because I think they've been keeping their starters in late. So I lay that. What is it? 23, I think it is. Lay it, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I kind of like where your head is with that. And especially if you're having
that much bid though, right?
But
they would.
I mean, the point is,
would they?
I mean, the metric. Listen, if you are a team, that is, when you talk about their net rating, 36 in the country, they're a top 30 team defensively, a top 50 team offensively. There's an argument there. There's a conversation there.
I'm telling you, if you watch this team all year, I'm out here on the West. So it's like, they used to take out their starters a lot earlier. I think there's a clear message behind that. And I think they're going to try to manipulate the net.
Maybe we go, maybe we land the 22.5, put the, let's go reverse and put the over with UC San Diego rather than Long Beach State and actually really go for it. That's what I'm going to do. You talked me into it, Colb. Interesting that
another thing is
like a money line of 8,000.
Well, another element to this is they are still like there's 2 games left. UC Irvine could still get the 1 seed, so they also have that logic of keeping the starters in because the fact that the Big West tournament is the 1 seed's at stake.
Interesting.
Makes sense. I mean, what UC San Diego, I think, from a bid perspective, has to avoid an at-large bid. That is, 1, they can't lose to the finals. 2, they have to lose. It has to be UC Irvine that they lose to, right? Like that has to play. If they get dumped by like UC Davis or somebody like that, that loss is going to be the biggest thing that everybody on their record is going to. Well, you just lost to a team that's 230 or 300th in Ken Palm, right? Like it doesn't look good for you.
That's a good point
when it comes down to that. So. The path for them, if they're not going to win the automatic bid, is that they have to play UC Irvine and they have to lose a buzzer beater close game against them. And it's like, okay, we're not going to ding them for losing to another team that has great metrics, that's top 60 or top 70 in Ken Palm, right? Because that's where UC Irvine lives, and they have the 12th best defense in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency. It's okay to lose to that team, right? A lot of teams may lose to a team that has a 12th best adjusted efficiency defense.
100%, and they better be rooting for Utah State, who they went to Utah State and won. They need the Aggies to continue to win.
Yep.
That's what I was going to say. That's probably their best non-conference win against Utah State. They lost to San Diego State, which sets them back a little bit, but interesting. I still got to see it to believe it. You know, you're not going to put in a team from the SEC, we'll say, for UC San Diego. Yeah. Colby, great job, man. We'll do it again soon, no doubt. You know us.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Mark, another half hour. Got Camp Stewart coming up in about 10 minutes or so. I'm holding on. Tampa Bay 6-5 over Buffalo. I need Tampa Bay in regulation. Uh-oh. What?
Don't look now. Iowa 58,
Michigan
State 57.
Wow. How about that? Yeah, this is like you rooting. This is like you rooting against your team. You know, 'cause I hate Michigan State. I really do. I just, with all the scandals in that program and all the looking the other way, if they don't win another basketball or football game for the rest of my life, I'd be happy. So I hate betting them, right? So I hate rooting on them. But interesting, they're only a 2.5-point favorite now, right? They were 6.5 to start the game. They came all the way back. They're down only one. 10 minutes left.
I mean, the key was when it was a pick, right? When you pointed out it was a pick 'em, that was when you needed to grab Michigan State.
Yep, and that's what I did at halftime. So, but you can't even hedge now. Like I would get a middle. You know, the number's so small. I would have figured being a 7-point favorite to start. They're down 10 minutes left, maybe 4.5. But I think they realized I was going to come back and make their little run. Now I'm sure we get a timeout in the court. So. But still, it's there. And the over-under, which gave out to the boys on the podcast, that's looking pretty good now. That didn't look too good at halftime, 37-30. But Michigan State has scored, 27 points in the first, not even 10 minutes of the second half. So it's up to 159.5. We're at 115.
Yeah.
It's 25, 35, 45, 55. That's 40. That's 45 points. That's a lot of points.
I still need
159.5.
I still need Western Kentucky to close out the other half of this money line parlay. And Florida International will not go away. They are hanging around way too much. And that's troublesome. That's bothersome for me.
Milwaukee, not the Bucks, but Milwaukee, whatever they are, the Deers. They've cut it to 5. I grabbed them before at 7.5. Now it's down to 4.5 with 7 minutes left. That's one of those where, again, first round matchups, that's a home game. So I got a feeling, you know what, plus 240 on the money line. Milwaukee is the much better team over Oakland. I'm a little surprised that you're actually getting plus 240. I think 240, even to 4.5 is pretty good. I think they come back and win the game. Plus 240 money line is worth a couple of shekels. Just a little hunch play there on that one. Let's grab them.
My God, if Cleveland State shoots another 3, I might drive to Cleveland after this game and punch somebody.
They're
They
down.
are shooting 11% from 3. Stop shooting them.
Stop shooting. Yeah, right? I mean,
take it, man. It was a wide open look. It was a wide open look. He just missed it. It wasn't a bad shot, but they're just not falling. So, like, this is a time where the coach steps in and goes, you know, maybe let's just extend the possession a little longer, drive towards the net, you know, like try something other than just chucking up a 3 and missing.
Yeah. Crazy. Florida 2-0 over Columbus. 4.5 minutes left to go there. That's been 2-0 for the longest time. Edmonton did take a 1-0 lead over Montreal midway through the first period. So now you get the Canadians. I thought we're live dogs today at plus 340 if you want to go there. Bruins in Carolina, looks like they're heading to overtime in a little bit. Minute and a half left, tied at 2. So not a bad little comeback. I'm holding on to my Tampa Bay lead, 6-5, 5.5 minutes left. We're laying $1.50 for Tampa Bay to win in regulation. They're playing great. Buffalo was stinking out the joint. It should not have been this difficult. It really should. Vasilevsky has played awful tonight for Tampa Bay, but we got a shot here. Buffalo 9-1 if you want to put the black cloud on them. Can't do that because chances are they tie it and then they lose in overtime, and I lose the bet regardless. So, but just a little hockey there to keep you posted. Baskets, NBA style. I know we got into the Magic and Bulls tonight, but that game soared way over 121-118. This is the second time in like 3 games a Magic game's been on. You know, they're the number 1 or number 2 under team. Maybe at this point of the season, they've kind of given up on that. So be careful with some of these unders with them because they're on pace now for 255.5 points. Celtics by 22. The big one is your Brooklyn Nets, Mark. Hanging tough with Golden State, tied at 91. How about that?
Again, it was just such a big number. Like it was such a bad letdown spot all the way across the board. You know, but you would have known Golden State wouldn't have had a lot left in the tank after what they did last night and beating the Knicks at the Garden. As you said, that wasn't a night after beating the Knicks at the Garden where they decided to get to bed early and get some rest and go to an early breakfast and, you know, get an early morning shoot around. They had the morning off and not take care of themselves, if you will.
Yeah, their morning was like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when their morning.
Also a late night.
Yeah,
same difference.
Also a late night. Exactly. Rockets have rallied, lead the Pelicans 75-68. Still like the over. The number's pretty similar to where it was to start the game, 233.5. Out of decent little pace when you got 143 points. You got 6 minutes left to go in the third. You finish out here with about 175. Yeah, you need about a 60-point fourth quarter. I think you get that with these two teams. So still definitely like that. Knicks line is still 2.5. What's just curious to see what Luka's numbers are because he has picked up the pace. I do like his 3-point shooting. He's definitely picked up the pace. They've been all over the place with his numbers. 28.5. Yeah, I've seen as high as 32 when he was facing Dallas, which he didn't come close to. LeBron is 25.5. Brunson's 25.5. Karl Anthony Towns is playing. He missed the last game. They got his number at 22.5. Interesting. I don't know if I would necessarily play any of them, except for maybe Brunson, believe it or not. I think Brunson will go for 26 tonight. He's the
should. If the Knicks have any chance at winning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, what it boils down to. If they have any chance of winning, it's got to be Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I mean, if they're not on their game, I'm really, by the way, in the break, my mind is wandering right now because I'm paying attention to 7 different things. That UC San Diego laying the 22 is starting to feel a lot more appetizing than I ever thought it would.
Well, if what Colby said is true, and I don't doubt it, it does. It's like a football team that, it's like Penn State, covering, James Franklin covering 22 and a half. This guy is the marvel of tacking on that extra touchdown to get the, oh, by the way, cover. That's kind of like this is if a coach isn't necessarily worried about covering, but if he's worried about point differential and he wants to put 100 points on the board, and he can against the worst team in the conference, that's okay. Let's keep the starters. Not only keep the starters in there, but just tell the backup, listen, we're going to run and gun. Instead of with 5 minutes left, walk the ball at the court, use up 30 seconds. No, guys, just keep on playing, the right way. And that leads to, covering that 22 and a half as well.
Yeah. I mean, you could look to a team total theoretically as well, instead of you're worried about getting a slight backdoor. Or the other part too, I'd like to cut the numbers in half. I mean, if they're not up by 12, at half, then do you really? Is it possible for this team? Yes, it's possible for them to outpace them by 20 in the second half. However, I just kind of look at it and I go, they got to get out to an early lead. If they're a team that wants to pour it on, they're going to have to do it starting early, pouring on, or even take a first half team total, right? Like, let me see if I can pull that number up real quick and see what it is.
79 and a half. The game is 79 and a half. Yeah, the game is 79 and a half. First half total points. First half, UC, here we go. 39 and a half. Yeah, 39 and a half.
I mean,
that's
now
probably
I go
the way to go, right?
Now I go look.
Eliminate everything.
First half points per game. Total. And we're looking for UC San Diego, right? What do they average in the first half?
They put 80 on the board last time they faced them. I like that San Diego team total, 79 and a half. We'll get Camp Stewart's thoughts when we come back.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott Mark Zinno for another 15 minutes or so. Top of the hour, Cam Stewart, Gabe Morency takes over. Joining us now, Mr. Cam Stewart, who's doing okay with his golf picks. I know that because I got him as well, and I can see some potential payouts, but I promise I'm not going to, at least not today. I'll give it a second round at least, Cam.
Give it a day or two, Scott.
Yeah. So I'm sweating out the Tampa Bay. Oh, Buffalo's got a power play. Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
dude, this game, Buffalo was up 5-3. You're like you hit Tampa before like your finger's gonna burn off. You're hitting that button so quick, Scott. I gotta tell you, it's like a horse race. I like the quarter horses now. One day, I don't even want to do. You know what's going to happen on Sunday? All our guys are going to be on the leaderboard. I'm like, ooh, I need to hedge. I'm like, oh man, there's 5 guys that are within contention. This first round leader hit with Wyndham Clark at 45-1. God, thank you, Wyndham Clark. That's awesome. So now we can free roll. So that's what I'm telling you, Scott. Like, I love these first round bets because even if they don't, it's one day. You know what I mean? And now I have to sweat out these other things. It's like, I know I'm going to win or lose. And now we have a bankroll to blow into the weekend. And hopefully one of our guys, you're right. Lowry's there. Aberg's even. Like, I'm looking at the guys, like everybody's like 20 and better. So like we have a lot of guys that started off well, but it's a long tournament. And by the way, Scott, we talked about that number, 5 under for Wyndham Clark today. It played pretty hard. I guess like more in the morning. They said the morning was going to be easier in the afternoon. The winds picked up, but over the weekend, I think things are going to get tougher. They say tomorrow is going to be the easiest day at this course before things get a little bit wild with the wind. But live stuff, guys. Montreal in hockey. We'll go to basketball. I know, Zinno, I like what you're talking about, laying big numbers in these Big West games coming up. I'm going to take a shot with Montreal, Edmonton over 6.5, minus 130 the juice, but I see lots of goals in this game. Colorado, wow, minus 2.5. I'm going to have to pass, Scott, but I do like Colorado. You know, me and the Sharks, we're good friends, but this could be a spot where they're just running out of gas and Colorado needs to win in regulation, but I'm not laying 2.5 goals. Basketball tonight, taking a small shot with the Knicks, getting 3. And the Matadors, you know, that's my team. Cal State Northridge, I took them earlier, minus 1.5. I think the line is 2. And you guys are talking about the San Diego game, laying 22.5 against Long Beach. A lot of points, but this team, this could be an absolute whitewashing. This could be a blowout. Question is, are they going to take the foot off the gas? You know, I know you're talking about the first half spread with these guys. Huge number, but hey, they could win this game by 35-40. It could be an absolute annihilation.
I already fired on it. First half team total over 39.5 for San Diego.
Yeah. What about you, Wetzel? You like the first half? Or are you doing game, or are you just gonna?
I did the over 79 for the game. If it's a 50,
you know
he did that. Either one though. I like.
They're both going to hit, but I'm going to get an hour's more sleep than Scott Wetzel tonight. That's the difference.
Scott, I don't sleep. Mark, I don't sleep. It's Australian horse racing after SportsGrid. Of course they scored, Scott. This game has got trouble written all over it from the get-go. You know the Sabres are going to win. That's the parlay buster tonight. I thought it was going to be Carolina, but did you watch Carolina? They had a goal taken away,
they won.
And then they scored with 18 seconds left. Man, the Bruins are a train wreck this year. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen Boston be a bad hockey team, but man, it's weird to watch. But yeah, that's interesting. You know, Buffalo's going to ruin these parlays tonight. How do you feel, Scott? Did you lay it down with Colorado against San Jose tonight? Right now on my book, it's minus 2.5 to plus money. I know the show. You know what? What am I doing?
I took the Sharks hold on. You
know what, Scott? What am I doing here? Like, come on, Cameron, snap out of it. Sharks plus 2.5. Colorado's going to win this game by 3, and I'll lay 30 cents. Give me SJ Sharkey plus 2.5. I think Colorado might win, but by 3, the Sharks have, remember, in their last game, Scott, when they lose, they usually lose by 1. In 7 out of their last 8 losses, these guys are losing. They're winning every puck line bet. So, yeah, let's go swimming with the Sharks, Wetzel. We could get eaten badly tonight, but they've been good to us. They're friends.
And you know what? And Colorado's been winning too many of these games by more than a goal and a half. That just doesn't happen in the NHL. It really doesn't. And San Jose, their last 5 games, last 2 wins, they did lose 5-3 at Ottawa, but then they lost the last 2 before that in overtime. So they've either won or lost in overtime in 4 of their last 5. So I don't have the guts to take them on the money line, but I'll take them plus a goal and a half or 2.5, like you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so out of these dogs, Montreal getting plus 160 right now against Edmonton or Dallas down 1 heading into the third, plus 170. Who do you like more?
Dallas.
I kind of lean. You know what? I'm going to bet them both, Scott. Small plays. Give me Dallas plus 170, Montreal plus 160. If one of them hits, we make money. I think I got to tell you, Edmonton is the worst favorite in the National Hockey League. I'll take maybe a shot with the Canadians. And Dallas against Calgary, they're down one goal. Calgary's a desperate team, but Dallas is really good. If they snap out of it and play, plus 170, I think, is a bargain price for the Flames. You guys on the Knicks or Lakers in the late game?
Opposite sides here. I took the Knicks.
I'm on the Knicks
I
too.
love the
Well, you're on the Lakers, Wetzel?
Yeah.
I'd wish you luck. I can't do that. Me and Zinno are we're against you here. Sorry, Scott. We're friends, but that one's gonna have to slide.
Why would you like? Now I know why, Mark. Why do you like the Knicks? Because you're facing a team that's red hot. That's 19-4 their last 23, 7 in a row. They're playing great, and they're at home. And I'm getting basically a pick. By the way, Tampa Bay wins 6-5 over Buffalo. How about
Woo! Squeaked it out.
Yeah, they had a 2-man advantage power play for about 25 seconds too. But why do you like the Knicks?
I like the Knicks for a lot of reasons. I kind of want to get in front of the Lakers tonight. They say, in gambling, what do they call it? Catch a falling knife. I guess I'm that idiot, Scott. I just think the Knicks could battle with them. I do like the under, as you said in that game. I think they could play some defense. And yeah, I'm with Zinno on this one. I think the Knicks can win this game. I think they're a very good team. They're battle tested, and I think they can win. I'll take the 3. It's a low number, but I know, Scott, I get it. Trust me. The Lakers have been great to us. Like they're winning games, but I just think this is a spot play for the Knicks tonight. We'll see.
Scott, how did we miss it? How did we miss it? Iowa 64, Michigan State 76.
Yep.
They are up by 12. Make that 13. They outscored them.
They were down 7.
They outscored them. They've outscored them by 20 in the second half. They scored 47 points, and there's still 4:27 left.
Wow. Biggest name traded tomorrow, Cam, in the NHL trade deadline. Cam? Sydney?
Brock
Brad
Nelson.
Marchand?
Brock Nelson. I'm praying he goes to the Leafs. That's a wish bet, Scott. We're ranting it.
Yeah. Cam and Game, top of the hour.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Final segment. Thanks again, Cam Stewart, Cam and Gabe, top of the hour over the next two here on SportsGrid TV and radio. So, two examples of just it's not over until it's over, as the saying goes. You mentioned it there, Mark. Iowa up 37-30 at the half, playing great basketball, right? Second half with 3.5 minutes left. It's now 81-66. Not Iowa, folks. Michigan State. They're up 50. They've outscored them by 22 on the road. Now laying 15.5. They're not even close to covering that 7.5. I mean, if you had, right, Mark, you said it. If you had Iowa plus 7.5, you're leading by 7 at the half. You're kicking yourself because you didn't double your play. You should have done more, right?
Sick.
Now you're not even going to cover. Wow. Forget about winning. Not even covering.
Not even going to cover. I mean, that is a gut punch kind of loss. And again, it was the reason I stayed away from the game altogether. I would have never bet Michigan State tonight. But I said Iowa's defense is so bad that they could take a bad three-point shooting team like Michigan State and make their offense really good. And the second half is, my God. That is just a real. Again, they're going to score 60 points in the second half of this game. I mean, amazing. They may not have to. They're going to dribble out every 30 seconds, but they have 51 and there's still 3.5 left.
Yeah, you're right. They're going to score 60 points. Are pretty damn close to it if they don't. So the other score is Golden State.
That's Alabama
down the whole.
Numbers.
Yeah. And this is, again, it's Michigan State. They generally don't score 60 points in a game. This year, a little different. They're a little bit higher. They're like Wisconsin, little higher scoring. They're not quite the 55-50 Michigan State or Wisconsin's, but still.
For the record, they scored 55 in an entire game against Maryland. They've scored 53 in the second half against Iowa.
Wow. Atlanta, Indiana Pacers go under by 0.5 point. Which really is stupid when you consider the score I'm going to give you. 124-118, and the game goes under. That's how crazy these numbers are. It was 242.5 today. It ends at 242. Oof. That's a tough one. Golden State's up 8, trailing the whole way against the Nets, right? 3.5 minutes left. They might cover the spread.
Cover this number now.
Yeah.
Another one. The Nets are up 25-5 in the first quarter.
Yeah. I tell you, I do. I have to say, I am a little impressed with these teams. We saw Cleveland the other day against Boston. We see it all the time. We do. These teams do trail by 20 or more, and you would think, as little as they care about the regular season, that they would just say, "All right, whatever, not our night." But they do come back. They really do. With the 3-point shot, you're down 20 points, but you're down 6 possessions, basically 7. So it didn't take a whole heck of a lot to get back into it. But they were left for dead. But it's in-game live stuff. Boy, you could hit some home runs. You really can. If you just have a system, team's down 20, I'm going to play every single team. No matter how difficult it is, I'm going to play every single team on the money line to come back. You'll win money. You will, because you're going to be getting 12, 13, 14, 15 to 1 in a lot of these games.
This is unreal. The only reason Northern Kentucky is even in this game is because they are making threes at an insane rate. For a team that only shot 29% from 3 this year on the road, they're up near 40. Cleveland State can't buy a 3, and Northern Kentucky can't miss one. And I'm laying 4, and it's a 6-point game. Like, it's just, I mean, they're not even supposed to be in this thing at this point in time.
56-50 with 2 minutes left in that game.
Wow. I would have never thought the under would have come in, to be honest with you, but now I just have to hope Cleveland State hang on and pull away, and their number one defense shuts them down. Like, again, it's they've also in this game here, you talk about Northern Kentucky, they've taken 23 threes, 23 of them. Wow. I mean, they're just chucking them up at this point in time, and they're falling. They're not, that's kind of just what's happening. So, I need Cleveland State to go on a little bit of run here with 2 minutes left and create some more distance, because I don't trust at this point in time that Northern Kentucky chucking up more threes isn't going to benefit them.
By the way, the UC San Diego game, which tips off here top of the hour, up to 23.5. We move lines here on In-Game Live. We do move. Yeah, no doubt it was us talking about and suggesting, right? They're going to run up the score. So, absolutely. Colorado 1-0 over San Jose. Last check on the hockey board. Nothing crazy happening there. So, Mark, great job as always. We'll do it again soon. Hopefully, we provided you guys with a bunch of winners tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow.